Cabinet sources have hit back at Tory rebels, accusing them of jeopardising the party's chances at the next general election.
Well, it comes amid reports that the Prime Minister is calling his allies to try and shore up support in the event of a vote of no confidence.
Joining us now for reaction to that is the former MP and Parliamentary Under-Secretary of State for Transport, Norman Baker, and economist Carl Thompson. A very good morning to both of you. If I could just start with you, Norman. What do you make of, first of all, this intervention from Lord Gate, the Prime Minister's standards advisor, saying that the Prime Minister has a legitimate question to answer when it comes to, to his Partygate fine?
Well, look, I mean, he already lost one advisor. The last one resigned because Boris Johnson ignored his advice, I think, on Priti Patel at the time. Lord Gate was seen unfairly, I think, as a bit of a patsy. And the fact that he's now threatening to resign, according to the press, suggests that the sands of time really are running out for the Prime Minister. I mean, he seems to be blaming everybody. He's blaming his backbenchers, he's blaming Lord Gate. The only person who's not blaming him is himself.
So how can he respond to that, then, from Lord Gate? I mean, what does he need to do? I mean, Lord Gate wants him to come out publicly and explain how he doesn't see this as a breach. And this all falls on whether or not this was knowingly or, knowingly breaking rules and knowingly misleading Parliament.
Well, Lord Gate's view, according to the papers, is that the fact that Boris Johnson received a fine is in itself a breach of the ministerial code for which Boris Johnson is responsible. And, of course, last week, with the tinniest of ears, the Prime Minister weakened the ministerial code, which I think most MPs found astonishing he did that last week. So to make it no longer a resigning matter under certain circumstances. So, I mean, he appears to be changing the rules to try and protect himself, and it's very obvious to everybody that's happening. We've now got, apparently, 50 Tory MPs who complained about his behaviour. Many have sent letters in to Graham Brady, the 1922 committee chair, and it looks very much the case that there'll be 54 letters, which is the trigger point for an election for leader, a vote of no confidence. William Hague, I see, the former Tory leader, has said that the fuse has been lit and it's very near the dynamite.
Of course, there were always rumours, weren't there, with Theresa May and with her predecessor, or one of the previous Conservative Prime Minister, I think it was John Major, people always suggesting that the threshold had been met and then it never quite was, or not quite when it was thought. Anyway, we haven't had that confirmed, is what I'm trying to say. But it remains to be seen. I mean, he's an electoral winner. He might pull out all of his charm and persuade the party and get another year in office guaranteed from all of this.
I don't think he's an electoral winner anymore. I think the public have lost confidence absolutely in Boris Johnson, and that's the view that the Tory MPs are coming to. And when it came to Theresa May, there were, I think, 34 letters identified for Theresa May's lack of confidence from Tory MPs, and suddenly it was 54. So there's a whole lot of Tory MPs on that occasion we didn't know about who sent letters in, and I think the same thing's probably happening here now.
We're talking a lot, obviously, about the politics of who's leading which party this morning. But, on the back burner in all of this, of course, is this ongoing cost of living crisis. Big announcement from Rishi Sunak last week, and suggestions in the papers that perhaps as a political ploy, perhaps as a sensible strategy, I'd be interested to know what you think, the Prime Minister might be introducing COVID-style updates on the economy and the cost of living crisis, perhaps to shore up support for him, but also could it be a good thing for the economy?
Yeah, so I think, obviously, as economists, we kind of do that ourselves every month, and I think extending that to the broader population, it is important to know what's happening with our prices. Food prices are now ticking up quite sharply, and yeah, just a general better engagement with the numbers might help people better with their financial planning, and also put more pressure probably on the government to extend their support further next year.
Yeah, as an economist, what do you make of the government's support package so far?
So I think this time last week we were expecting something around a sort of the flat payment, the energy rebate that they did end up announcing, but then a relative surprise on the day in terms of the quite significant targeted support for the most vulnerable people in the UK. That was, I thought, quite reasonable and quite impressive, and will go quite far for a lot of people that are really struggling. Some of that is, I see, probably going to be paid slightly too late. So the pensioner and disability payments from September up to November, December, that could be brought forward slightly, I think, particularly for the most vulnerable groups. as the Chancellor said, it does need to be timely.
I just want to bring Norman Baker in on that point, actually, because some suggestions that some of the discontent with Boris Johnson has been over this, what's been viewed as an unconservative approach of dishing out money. And I wonder if you think that is significant, that we've had this time lag between the publication of the Sue Gray report and now this sort of groundswell of bad feeling towards him, allegedly, in terms of these letters being submitted. We don't actually know how many have been submitted. But do you think it could actually be about policy or lack thereof, rather than just about Partygate? I mean, specifically this, what isn't particularly Conservative policy?
No, well, look, the announcement last week, which I think was actually quite reasonable, I agree with Carl on that, was brought forward to the day after the Sue Gray report in order to deflect from the Sue Gray report. So economic policy in this country is being determined by the need to keep Boris Johnson in office, and that's not a good way to run
But will that
government.
actually play against keeping him in office if his own party think this is populist announcement, but it's actually very unconservative? Why didn't they just announce a tax cut?
Well, some of the right-wing Conservative MPs will certainly feel aggrieved by it. The fact of the matter is, in economic terms, the ship of state has been swaying all over the place with a hand on the tiller. I mean, are we seeing a low-tax Conservative Party or a high-tax Conservative Party? We're seeing national insurance rise, then we see money given away. They seem to be changing their views from week to week, and there's no consistency or approach. And I think that's what alarms MPs. They don't know where the government's going. It changes its view from one week to the next.
Yeah, Carl, just very finally, before we let you go, I wanted to ask you about the Jubilee weekend. I've seen some reports from some economists that are saying that the Jubilee weekend, on balance, will actually be worse for the economy because it's a 4-day weekend. It's taking a lot of people out of work. It'll actually cost the country money as opposed to being a net benefit. I was just wondering, have you read any of those reports? And what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So there's two sides to this, right? People have more time off work, so spending is expected to rise quite significantly. But then, as you say, on the other side, people away from work for an extra 2 days, that is associated with a loss in output. Now, we've done research on this previously, and we estimate that for every bank holiday, extra bank holiday, that lost output is made up across the remaining month. So on net, not seeing a huge blow to the economy. The thing to say about that, though, is that, as we're discussing, this is in the context of a cost of living crisis, so perhaps that spending boost will be slightly more muted than usual.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.